This conference will now be recorded.
All right, welcome everybody to the webinar tonight. Happy Monday night to you, or whenever you're watching this. I am thrilled to see so many people joining us live tonight, and the chat has already been busy, which makes me happy. I do want to give some housekeeping or sort of rules of the road here as we get going. I am, for the time being, getting ready to close my chat down. However, we do have Crystal inside the chat. She'll be fielding questions, asking some questions, kind of doing what Crystal does to help facilitate conversation while I'm teaching. I will come back. There are kind of two spots that I'm really going to come back to chat towards the end of the presentation. I will tell you that this is a presentation that you want to stay all the way till the end, because otherwise you're going to kind of have chapters of a book out of context and you want the whole thing. Plus, I am making something available tonight to you guys live that is very unique, and it comes up towards the end. So I want to make sure that you don't miss it. All right. So it's definitely worth hanging around. All right. Very good. So we did hit the record button. I am now closing chat. Crystal, you have the chat well in hand, and we are going to go ahead and get started. Guys, I'm excited to bring this session to you because tonight we're going to be dealing with a topic that is both near and dear to my heart, but it's also much requested by our students, our clients, and those we work really, really closely with. And what we're talking about is how you can build a loyal audience that buys from you over and over, even if you currently have no following, no influence, or a total newbie, and you'd rather have a root canal than talk to people, shoot video, go live, or sell others. What I'm really telling you tonight is the Introverts Guide to Dominating Online. So if I described you, if any of those things described you, they may not be all of them, but if you were one of those things, maybe you don't want to shoot video, you don't want to go live, you would rather have a root canal than sell people. Like, if you're any one of those, would you just let us know in the chat? Just say that's me. Yeah, cool, Stacy. We already got it. Yeah, right. So the reason I'm having you do this early is just so, in case you were wondering if you're in the wrong place, you can know now that you're in the right place with what we're getting ready to share tonight. When we started putting this together a while ago, and when we were kind of testing the waters about, was this really going to resonate? Whenever we brought it up, people like lit up. They're like, oh my goodness, Gary, that's totally my situation. Or, again, you may not be all of these things, you may be some of these things. And so what I want you to know as we set our intentions, and if you've ever been with me live, you've ever heard me on a webinar, you've heard me from stage, you've heard me anywhere, I'm big on setting intentions when we're starting something. So one, I want my first intention to be that you're in the right place. And if you're any of these things, not only is it okay, but it's actually kind of a superpower. Like, kidding, have a superpower if you kind of don't feel like being out in front and being on webinars and shooting video and pitching and talking and doing all that stuff. You actually do have a superpower, and that superpower is really going to help you do something that all those other people can't really do as well. All right, so my intention is to show you why that is, and then give you a vehicle to really exploit your talents and your superpower. And I also wanted you to know my intention is just you are in the right place tonight. So let's go ahead and get started. Let me click on my screen here. I think it'll let me go. So let me tell you about the state of things, okay? Here's the situation. If you're reading this right now, you're listening to me right now, there's a really good chance you have a small business of your own, right? I know most of the people in this chat, and it could be something predominantly online. A lot of you are in network marketing, a lot in affiliate marketing. I've got some folks that are kind of in light e-com kind of circles. You may also have an offline style business. We've got people in our group and in our mastermind now that are insurance agents, real estate agents, brick and mortar, folks. They have a store or a service. And, if you're in any one of these, and if you've spent like 5 seconds online, you know that all the experts out there say that there's certain things that you have to do, like you must do, if you're going to grow your business on the internet, right? Like all of them, the gurus, like on the Facebook PPC ads and whatever else, say there's certain things you just have to do. And if you don't do them, you're just done, right? And so let's see if this list looks familiar to you of these things that you're supposed to have to do all the time, right? So social media is one, obviously, that everybody says you have to do. This includes things like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all kinds of things inside of it, right? So with Facebook, we know there's like many variations. You can have groups, you can run ads, you can have pages, you talk engagement, metrics, algorithms. Like there's the header topics of like Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, but then there's all this stuff underneath. I mean, think about Instagram. There's posting a picture on Instagram, but then there's niching and targeting and automation and bait and lead magnets, right? So there's a lot going on. The other place that inevitably people will say that you've got to be doing something is video marketing. So we know this can include YouTube, obviously, is the kind of premier one. It can include Facebook and Instagram Live. And this is something that, I mean, you can't throw a rock in training circles without somebody telling you that video is something you have to do as part of your business. I mean, I teach video all the time. I teach social media all the time. Website development is another thing that pops up. And this normally means someone spending a small fortune on internet real estate, aka a website, and they've got a market to get people to come and look at and hope that somebody does something once they get there. So folks will say you got to have social media presence, you got to do video marketing, you got to have a static website, you got to do this, that, and the other thing. And they say, this is what you got to do. But here's the true story. The guru advice sounds really, really good, but it's full of flaws. And it's why 90% of small business owners fail at online marketing. And my friends, they fail ugly. Like it's not just fail, it's failapalooza, right? And so there's a reason, though. It's not that the advice that people are giving is wrong of and in itself, but a phrase that I'm really fond of is that it's more nuanced than that, right? I say this a lot if you've ever been around me, and the story is a little bit more nuanced. So let's start with social media marketing for a second, okay? So here's the thing. There's no doubt that Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, all these places, I mean, we would all be idiots if we said it's not a powerful mechanism for you to build your brand and make more sales. I mean, I've generated thousands and thousands of dollars of sales thanks to Instagram and Facebook kind of tied together. So clearly there's no doubt about that. But all the strategies, the gadgets, and the tricks won't work if you do not have an audience on any one of these things. And this is one of the big pieces of confusion. So if you don't have a big following on Instagram, it doesn't matter if you're posting the greatest stuff ever. Like nobody's there to see it. It's kind of like the whole, if the tree fell down in the forest, no one was around, did it make sound, right? So this is easily one of those biggest omissions that the gurus tell you. And it's why, when newbies buy the courses, the books, they attend the seminars, they fail. It's because they don't have an audience and they don't have a pile of cash sitting around to spend on advertising to try to get one. Now, unless you got a money tree out back of your house, and if you do, would you please send me the link so I can GPS it and come over and pick some stuff off the money tree? But if you don't have a pile of cash to build an audience, through advertising, then you're kind of like stuck, right? Well, maybe not. But let's hold that for a second. Just hold that thought about being stuck with no audience. Let's talk about video. Now, when we talk about video, I'm a huge fan of video. We're getting ready to start a video challenge in our mastermind. I love video, but the first problem is the same as above. If you have no audience and you're shooting video, this is kind of like the tree that falls in the woods. No one's around to make a sound, right? I've already said this. So, but there's a bigger problem with video, okay? And that's most business owners are deathly afraid of it. I can't tell you how many times over the past 3 years I've made a suggestion to sharp, bright, ambitious people, and I've said, you need to start shooting some video for your business. And you would have thought I said to them, hey, I want you to climb Mount Everest in flip-flops and a tank top in the middle of winter and have fun with that. Because they're like, dude, that's like the impossible dream. And for many of them, I mean, there's like literally a visceral and physical reaction that gives them hot flashes. They're having palpitations. They're having like almost panic attacks. Like it's serious. And so here's another true story. There's a whole section of business owners that don't want to sell face-to-face. They don't want to do it over the phone. They don't want to do it in a chat window. And the last place they want to do it on is video. Okay. Now, can you get better at video? Yes, absolutely. And you do that through things like the little simple video challenges and things. But I want to kind of get you thinking about where your sweet spot is, if that makes sense. So if we know this, if we know like there's some challenges with social media, there's some challenges with video marketing, if we don't want to be out front. So what in the world is an introverted small business owner on a budget without an audience to do if they want to use the internet to grow their business? This is a great question. This is like a super powerful question. And it's not some empty philosophical one either. It's literally like, what am I supposed to do? Like if I'm introverted, I'm a small business owner, I don't have a huge spend budget for advertising, I don't really have an audience, what the heck am I supposed to do to grow my business? If that question makes sense to you, if you've maybe asked that question yourself, go ahead and put yes in the chat, because I think this is real for a lot of folks, and I'll let Crystal monitor that. But let's review the problems really quick again, because I want to make sure we've got this. We're moving fast, but understand this. You're brand new and you don't have an audience online yet. And again, if that's one of your problems, just make a note to yourself. Yep, I've got that problem. You don't have a pile of money laying around to advertise to build your audience. Is that one of your problems? For a lot of you, that's a problem for you. You're like, man, I don't have an audience and I don't have a ton of cash. And by the way, when we say ton of cash, I mean, we don't have, a couple $1,000s a month to spend on PPC, right? You may hate the idea of shooting video and being in front of the screen. Now, video is not just shooting a video for like a simple 3-minute video challenge. It could be like on webinars like this or being out there in front. Like some of you can't stand that. So kind of ask yourself, do I hate the idea of shooting video? Yeah, I kind of hate that. Do I not have a lot of money laying around to spend on advertising? Yeah, I don't. And I'm brand new, or maybe I'm not so brand new, but I still don't have an audience online yet. And you may have zero interest in selling, cold calling, and prospecting. Like the idea of getting up and calling 150 leads just makes you like literally want to go hide under a blanket in the fetal position and not come out for a week. And by the way, I'm not telling you that that's wrong. I'm telling you that's actually part of your own superpower, which we're going to get to here in a minute. But you have zero interest in that. So if any of this is your situation, and situation is an actual marketing term, if that's you, we need to talk. Because what if it were different? What if you could build an audience that they're following, that they literally like hang on every word you type? Did you catch that? I didn't say every word you say. I say every word you type. And what if you could build an audience without spending a penny on advertising of any kind? Not a penny. Not a penny. That's like in case you forgot what pennies look like. It's like the little bronzy looking thing, penny. What if you could build an audience and make more sales without ever shooting a second worth of video? Unless you really wanted to. That's interesting. What if you could make more sales and grow your business without ever picking up a phone, pitching or prospecting anyone directly yourself? What if that existed? If that existed, would you want to know about it? Again, again, for your business, for whatever your thing is, I have no other thing for you to join here tonight. I would love to recruit you all into shadow marketers, but that's not what I'm doing here tonight. This is your business. If you could do these things in your business, would that excite you? There's actually a 4-letter solution to all of the problems that I just laid out back here. Let me look at them one more time. I want you to get these because these are your problems. You don't have an audience. You don't have a pile of cash laying around for advertising. You hate the idea of shooting video and being in front of the screen. You have zero interest in selling, cold calling, and prospecting. And I said, what if you could do all these things? You could build the audience. You could make more sales. You wouldn't have to pitch. You could do it. And they would hang on your every typed word. There is a 4-letter solution to all of those problems that I laid out. And that 4-letter solution, it's a blog. It's a blog. Now, blogs are powerful, and the data really proves it. I'm going to share some of my personal experience with this here in a moment, but let me just give you some information here that's interesting. We talked a little bit high level 30,000 foot view on philosophy. Now let's talk about the specifics. Check out some of these stats. Buyers consume content before making a purchase decision. In fact, 47% consumed 3 to 5 pieces of content before taking the first step towards making a purchase. Look at this right here. Guys, I've been preaching this till my throat was raw, that a big reason probably 97% of the members in the mastermind continue to struggle, whether they're all in or not, is not because they don't have the education. It's because they don't produce the content. 47%, almost half of the people that'll look at you online need to consume 3 to 5 pieces of content before taking the first step to making a buying purchase. If you've got no content, you don't have the 3 to 5 pieces for them to consume. You're missing out on almost 50% of the people that are looking at you. Imagine right now if you had a 50% increase in your total revenue just because you started creating content tomorrow. How much of a difference would that make to your bottom line? Do I have your attention yet? Because I should. 94% of people share blog content because they think it might be useful to other people. We have taught engagement in so many different ways over the years, but here's what we know. What we really, we don't really care about likes. I don't, neither do you. Comments are better, but when people share something of yours, they're literally free advertising for you to their entire following. Word of mouth is more powerful than any strategy I can think of. 94% of people will share a piece of blog content because they think it's useful to other people. Why? Because it actually adds some value. Now imagine if just, let's say you have 1,000 followers on Facebook, and let's just say one of them, every day when you shared your new piece of content from your blog, if just one of them shared out a piece of your content, how many more people would your content get in front of? How many more people would you potentially be exposed to? How much would that help your business? That's reach that you would never be able to get anywhere else with your normal traditional decaying style marketing where you put a quick, promo up and that post is dead in an hour because it's buried in the feed. Do I have your attention yet? This is big. Now let's just look at a few more facts. Companies that publish 16 or more blog posts per month, that's also individuals, by the way, posting 16 or more blog posts per month, got 4.5 times the leads than companies that published 4 or less monthly posts. Now I want you to think about this. The one thing that you can control in your business, the one thing that you have absolute control over is your activity. Your activity no one can come in and tell you that you can't blog today. Like you get to decide how much you're going to do it with just a little bit of sweat equity. Because I told you back in the day, a few slides ago, unless you've got a ton of money to pay on advertising, which we all agreed you don't in most cases, then if that's the case, sweat equity, you just putting in the work, you do 16 or more blog posts per month, about one every 2 days. You're going to get 4.5 times the leads. The leads. People raising their hand. When we have people come into the mastermind, easily, goodness gracious, probably 2 or 3 out of 5 say their biggest problem is, I need more people to talk to. I don't have leads. I can tell you how to get leads. Post 16 or more times a month on a content-driven blog, and you get it. 58% of marketers voted for original written content as the most important type of content, outdoing images, videos, and infographics. Think about this. 58% of marketers, high-level marketers, by the way, I have the source on this study if you want it after the webinar. 58% of high-level marketers voted and said the most important thing was original written content. You know why? Because it's different when it's written. It's one thing for you to get a call from a collector that you just send a voicemail, but it's another thing if they send you a FedEx letter in an envelope that's written and typed up and you look at it and you're like, holy biscuits and gravy. It's different when it's written, isn't it? I mean, like when Crystal and I had to go, when we got married and we had to go in and get the marriage license, like we had to sign on that. I couldn't just email that in. Why? Because it's important when it's written. It's important when it's written, when, you know, you've got to go in and close on your house. There are documents. It's important when it's written. You say, well, I'm not writing it with my hand on a blog, Gary, but it's written, published word. And let me just tell you, if there's two people in your company, there's you and some other cat, all right? And the other one of you is producing original written content on a blog, and the other one's just slinging the pictures up that the company provided. Who do you think the audience is taking more seriously as an authority in the space? Do I have your attention? All right, look at this. One compounding blog post can create as much traffic as 6 decaying posts. Let me stay here for a second. This is something that a lot of you don't understand. This line right here, if you'll just grasp this, you know, once we're done here tonight, if you do nothing tonight, if you don't take any action on what I'm getting ready to share with you, if you get this in your head, it'll change the way you think about marketing. So look, what is a decaying post? A decaying post is a post that doesn't have a shelf life. You know, if you get the fresh produce and it's out on the dock and it just got pulled in from the field and it's still got the moisture on it and the lettuce is still crisp because it's fresh, you know, but the reality is you leave it out on that dock for long and it doesn't have cooler temperatures and it doesn't, and the sun comes up and the heat comes up. And I'm telling you what, that stuff's going to decay very, very quickly. So when it comes to post, a lot of you struggle because you think, I just did the most amazing post in the world. But you got to remember about the speed of the platforms you're on. A lot of these platforms are rolling super fast, like Instagram. I mean, ready? Here's how long your post lasts on Instagram. Hold on. 1, 2, 3. Blink. There it went. Okay, there's another one. 1, 2, 3. Gone. It's done. 1, 2, 3. Gone. That's how fast. Okay. Facebook, you might go something like this. You did a good Facebook post. Hold. Gone. All right, next. I mean, these are decaying posts. But the way that you fight the decay is you have a post that you've got a piece of content that is being preserved by a number of elements. So one, a blog post has search engine heat because it can be found in the almighty Google. So that post is working for you and getting fresh heat on it all the time. All right, so it's not decaying. It always can grow. You've got people who are much more likely to share this kind of content out than the other kind of content that we're accustomed to. And thus, with each one of those shares, you have no decay because now you're feeding it with all these other audiences. Do you see what I'm getting at here? It's powerful. 63% of online users perceive blogs with multiple authors to be more credible. Now, isn't this interesting? Imagine a world. I sound like the deep movie voice guy. In a world, right? So imagine a world where I'm going to give some resources to you here in just a little bit, just a few minutes away. And you look at those and you go, yeah, that's the one I want. And you grab a resource. You grab the resource, and there's going to be a handful of folks that grab these resources with you tonight. Not everybody. It's not going to happen. But there's going to be a handful of you that do. Imagine if just once a month, all of you guys got together and guest posted on each other's blogs. And not only would you get some free content on your blog, but now you would have multiple authors on your blog just with people that you knew, so it was easy to get. And 63% of online users would look at your blog and go, you know what? Man, that's really credible. They got more authors on it. This is like a proper site. Remember, I told you in the beginning, I set an intention and made a promise. I said, look, I promise you that you can do this. Even if you don't have an audience right now, you can build one. Even if you don't have influence, you can get it very quickly just by applying these simple content hacks. I'm more excited than you are right now. I'm really excited. So here's the translation. Blogging is the most effective way to build an audience that knows, likes, and trusts you without directly saying a word to them. Now, how do I know this from a personal perspective? Okay. And this is important. How do I know this? I started my online life with a blog. So if you are looking, and I'm a big fan of this, if you've never heard of the yesterday's road method, I learned this way back in the day off of Nightingale Conant. It's a famous personal development website from back in the day. And yesterday's road method is you take someone where they are now and you work backwards to where they started. And so you can kind of see the journey and see what fed the current result. People see us now, for instance, in shadow marketers, and they see us, on multiple leaderboards, or they see that we've sold products literally all over the world to hundreds and hundreds of students, or they see that we've mentored and built funnels for clients and driven thousands of leads and all this kind of stuff. Well, trace it back. How did all of this begin? It began with a blog. That's how it started. I asked this question about 3 weeks ago because we've been working on this for a while. I said, does anybody know, a little trivia question, how did I start my business? I started it with a blog. And very early on, before I knew anything, the way I was getting traction, the way I started building a list, the way I started building a following, it was with a blog. I was simply blogging daily. I had mentors that had a very zealous, almost militant blogging game plan, and blogging daily was one of the things that we did. And it was from that I was able to build and do what I do now. And so when I don't speak from a place of theory. I don't speak from a place of, well, maybe. No, I've done this over and over and over again. Over the years, I've had many niche blogs. I still have lots of niche content that's out there that you guys don't even know about. And so it's interesting when you look at this to think, wait a minute. So I don't have to have a huge ad spend. And if I don't want to get in front of the camera, and if I don't want to, be the live person, I can still do something really, really effective. You certainly can. I want to show you something. Let me minimize my screen real quick. I want to show you a different screen, okay? So my screen's going to go blank there for a minute. Don't worry, I'm still here. And just give me 1 second to minimize over. I'm going to show you another window. Something that's really, really powerful. Because I think some things pictures are worth 1,000 words, and sometimes just kind of talking through some points can really help you. There we go. Excellent. So I want to put this up here and show you something. It's something that I like to call blog mastery. And so we've basically taken every headache away so that you can get your blog up and get it up fast and start sharing your message. And I've got kind of two pathways here. And then I want to talk to you about storytelling. And I want to talk to you about your story, because your story is incredibly important. And I want to talk about that. Inside of standing up a blog, and I don't want to come down here a little bit back to this statement that I just made, because I said blogging is the most effective way to build an audience that knows, like, and trust you without directly saying a word to them. All this is true. All this is nice, but setting up a blog can be quite a headache if you don't know what you're doing. There's a lot of tech involved if you do it right. If you're doing it the right way for search engine optimization, it can be seriously tech involved. And the reality is most people are busy enough. Most people are like, dude, I've already got enough going on in my life. I don't need to try to figure out how to build Google Analytics and set up a WordPress site and do search engine optimization plugins and figure out how to actually syndicate content and do all this stuff. So there's everything I've told you tonight are all the benefits, but it's like, well, how do you get past all that initial? How do you just get to the good stuff? Like for me, I'm not really interested in mixing up all the ingredients. I just kind of want to get to the meal. If you're like me, just give me a yes in the chat. I mean, some of you may like to hand cook everything homemade, but I just kind of want to get right to the meal. And so that's what we've done here in creating a couple pathways for you guys inside of Blog Mastery. And this is our last suite of things inside of our larger suite of products. This is our last thing for 2018. We've been sitting on it for almost 3 months, the actual setup for it. And so I'm really excited to bring both of these options to you, and you get to kind of pick. And but I'm going to give you what they are, then we're going to pause it. I'm going to fling you back to your story, and then we'll come back in here and I'll let you grab one of these as soon as you have a chance, okay? Tonight, because this is kind of time sensitive. So let's talk about Blog Mastery Basic. So we designed this for folks that are saying, you know, I want to set up a blog. I don't know any of the tech. I want the blog to be set up correctly, and I want to do that, and then just let me go on my own. I'm good from there. I don't want to learn how to create content. I don't need to syndicate it. I'll wing it, but I need it set up because I'm busy enough. I'm a mom, I'm a dad. I've got 3 jobs, 2 dogs and a cat, 4 kids. I just don't have time to do that. So we created Blog Mastery Basics. So this is really just the tech side of it. So what we do is we install your WordPress installation and take care of all the setup. So basically we load the software, we press the buttons, we get it online and ready for you to write. So basically you just got to show up and start writing. We also take care of the SEO plugin side of it because we've done a lot of research in SEO plugins, and SEO is just it's a little abbreviation for a big old phrase called search engine optimization. And when it comes to search engine optimization, the idea is you want your stuff found when people go into Google and type things. And so we've done a lot of research on this and tweaked it and tweaked it. And so we've got it now really set up that we can set it up on yours so that, you know, when you are doing posts and if you meet the parameters inside of it, you know that you're going to stand a much better shot of being found in search than if you just wing it. We don't want to just wing it. The third thing we do is the basic blog layout and design. This is big. So we give you a basic intake and we say, hey, tell us what you want. We're going to put it there. You want a bio page? We'll put it there. You got it. You want a link to your store over here? Great. You got it. You need a cool blog header? We got you covered. We give you the basic construct. You tell us what you want. You tell us in one shot. You don't like tell us over 9 weeks. You just tell us, hey, this is what we want. And we go in and we go ahead and knock that out for you. We also integrate all your domain for you. So if you got a nifty domain for your blog, which you should have one, we'll integrate it. We'll make it happen to all the pages and we'll tie it into your Google Analytics, which is another thing that we do in here, which is part of your setup. So we set up all your Google Analytics so that you can go in and you can really look and have the deep dive of where your traffic's coming from, what they're reading, what they're clicking on, what's working and what's not working. And then we also do your initial content load for you. So we'll take your first 3 pieces of content. Now you got to write them, obviously, it's not our blog. We'll take your first 3 pieces of content. We're going to load them, format them, optimize them, make them look really shiny so that when you launch your blog and people are looking at it, they've got something to read and it looks fantastic. Okay. So that's what we do in Blog Mastery Basics. So this is for the person that's saying, you know what? I am the world's greatest writer. I am the world's greatest internet marketer. All I want you to do is set up the house for me. I'll put the furniture in it. Cool. That's Blog Mastery Basic. Blog Mastery Premium takes it to the other place. And we built this based on what our audience had told us, what our students had told us. So all the same things to start with: WordPress installation, SEO, Google Analytics, layout and design, domain integration, and initial content loading. But then we added on the workshop series. And this is extremely, extremely powerful here. And I want to talk about these because this is really going to be the difference maker for a lot of you. And this is where we go into telling your story. So the first live workshop that we do with you is one called Blogging for Search. For so many people, they go out and start a blog or 2 or 3 or 4, or whatever it is, and they post things, but they don't know how to post them to make them friendly to search. We're going to spend an entire workshop talking about in real time, like inside of a post, showing you simple things that you can do and also some more sophisticated things you can do to get your post found in search. There's nothing more lonely and demoralizing than you keep, you're writing posts, you're posting them, and you do that for so long and it's literally no one's watching except your dog and maybe your husband or wife, okay? So we're gonna dive deep into how do you create your content. Like once you've written this amazing thing about whatever, you could be writing about marshmallows, cats, or pumpkins. Doesn't matter what you're writing about. But when you do it, so once it's done, all right, how do I optimize that post for search? In the second live workshop, it's really the WordPress master course. WordPress is probably the most popular blogging platform in the world, but it's also one of the most counterintuitive things in the world. And so it's so helpful to have someone come along and say, let's sit down together. Let's go through what you need to know and what you don't need to know so that you can increase your efficiency. Because if you're going to be creating a lot of content, again, you're busy enough. So we want to make sure that you've got efficiency levels high so that when you sit down, you can do what you need to do, get in and get out. So you got to know your way around WordPress. And as part of this workshop, we have a whole troubleshooting section. So in here, like when you run into trouble, we've got like some checklists to say, hey, when this happens, do this. When this happens, check this, this, and this. So you know how to get around. Live workshop number 3 is our blogging syndication secrets course. Now this, guys, right here, the live workshop number 1 and number 3, this is really how I kind of busted out with my own blog, even before I learned how to monetize it. I learned how to syndicate my stuff really well, and I learned how to get stuff found in search. In this course, you're gonna learn kind of the step-by-steps of, okay, I've got a post now. How do I get more eyes on it, and how do I get more eyes on it fast? And it's because it's more than just, hey, I'll share it to Facebook. That's a good thing to do, but there's more to it than that. So we're gonna talk about how to syndicate your blog post to get maximum traffic. In the live workshop number 4, this is a big one. We talk about how to monetize your blog. And friends, for most people who start a blog, this is why their blog never goes anywhere, because they never figure out a way for it to make money. I'm sure some of you can relate to this who've had blogs before. And so we're going to talk about how do you avoid the I create content but never get paid trap. How do I not only get traffic, which is important, how do I get found in search, super important, but once they're there, if they're on a page, like how do I get them? How does this turn into dollars? Otherwise, it seems like I've just developed a hobby that takes up my time. How does it actually develop into dollars for my primary business or whatever other businesses I may be involved in? And so this is a really powerful session. And then my favorite of the sessions is session number 5, which is the storytelling power section. Friends, your story, in my view, is the most powerful thing you have in your arsenal. It is the thing that can transform and facilitate not only your own growth and your own healing, but the growth and healing of others, because you've been through some stuff. And so in this storytelling power live workshop, and folks, this is not for the faint of heart. This workshop will probably get you in your feels more than once, but what comes out of it is really powerful. This is the bridge with an audience that is really waiting to hear somebody like you share your story so they know that they're not alone. This is where it becomes bigger than just talking about, well, what's going on with, how many sales and how many people am I signing up? Let me scroll down here and let me talk a little bit about that. I said this earlier today in my video. I said, right now is a really unique time. It's a unique opportunity for you because you actually, through building a blog and creating content, you have an opportunity to build a business your way. You don't have to do it like everybody else does it. You don't have to do it the way the gurus tell you. You don't have to try to improve your weaknesses. You can actually try to leverage your strengths, and actually you don't have to try. You can leverage them because you do have them. Now, look, in doing blogging, we're going to talk products and you're going to sell your services and you're going to do things business, but there's something much more powerful going on. You now have a safe platform where you get to share your story, where you get to write about, the hurts and the pains and the cuts and the wounds, the victories, the defeats, the highs and the lows. You get to share yourself in the anonymity and the safety of a WordPress site. I've been preaching for years, guys, about the importance of sharing a story, and I'll share, speaking of stories, I'll share one with you. I was probably at one of the most dangerous times in my business. I was about 1.5 years in, and I had this unfortunate experience. I had started getting a little bit of results. I was starting to enroll people. I was making sales. but I was by no means a heavyweight yet. I wasn't like killing it. And I was doing all the typical stuff that people would tell you to do. Like I was shooting video, but I was shooting kind of stock video. I was writing blog posts, but I was still kind of shooting stock, writing blog, kind of stock stuff. So I remember sending an email to one of our company at the time, the primary company we were in for like 3 years. It was where we cut our teeth. No longer around, unfortunately. If it was still around, I'd still be in it. But there were two founders. They were co-founders. They were both named Dave. And I just kind of called them, Dave 1 and Dave 2. And I sent Dave 2 a message on Facebook thinking there is absolutely no way Dave 2 is going to respond to me. And I kind of wrote this impassioned plea, and I've done this a couple times in my career where I've just reached out to a mentor and just dumped on him. I didn't dump like whiny. I really owned it, but I was super honest. And I said, Dave, I'm lost here. Like I'm getting some results, but I'm not getting traction. I don't understand why I'm not making bigger ticket sales. And I went through my big old long list. And so I remember it was like 4 days later. I kept going back and kind of stalking the message. I'm like, does it say read, seen by? And 4 days later-ish, he writes back. And he didn't just write me back like a thumbs up, or he didn't write me back just a, hey, whatever. He actually wrote me back and said, Gary, I totally understand where you're at, man. And I appreciate where you're coming from. But there's one thing that you're not sharing at all in your blog, in your videos, anywhere. And he said, that's your story. You're not telling your story. And I thought, my story? I don't have a story. Because that's what most of us think, right? We're like, nope, I don't really have a story. I don't have a rags to riches story. I don't have the, hero's journey kind of archetype. I don't have a story, which is complete nonsense. We all have a story. And I remember reading that response from him over and over and over again. And I was like, all right, well, let me try. And so in my videos, I started telling more about who I actually was. And then, for me, I did use a lot of video, but for the point of blog, what I did is I said, you know what? Then I went over to my blog and I would write everything that I talked about in my videos. And I started writing my story. And this came to a head for me and for those of you that know a little bit about my story, back in 2015, August 2nd, about 10 o'clock in the morning, was the beginning of about an 18-month period where the lights went out in my life. It was brutal, horrible. And on the other side of that, towards the tail end of it, once I'd gotten through it, I got on a couple lives. Actually, the end of the M2, I got on a big live and told the story about what had happened to me. And it was raw, and it was kind of gut-wrenching for me to tell the story. And, it was uncomfortable, and I didn't really it wasn't my normal thing. But by writing about it and sharing it, I got more messages. I got more emails where people were like, oh my gosh, I am so glad that I'm not the only one. Now, I didn't write that. I didn't share that. I didn't write those things because I was thinking about sales. I was writing them because it was part of my story, and that story is something that can help other people. And Zig Ziglar said it, if you can help enough people get what they want, you can have everything in life that you want. This is about people hearing your voice in your way. For many of you, what we're going to do here in just a few minutes, I'm going to give you a couple of options on this blog project that we're doing here with Blog Mastery. For a lot of you, this is not going to have anything to really do with more sales and more revenue. You know what it's going to be about? It's going to be about you putting some pieces back together again. It's going to be about you kind of putting together the cracked and the broken pieces and the bruised pieces, one word at a time, as you type them out. Now, the byproduct, friend, is that you'll get more traffic and more heat and more messages and more engagement and more shares and all that stuff. And we all want that. And that's great. And yes, what does it do? Well, it's all those stats that I shared with you back in the beginning. Dude, it's going to change the way things look in sales, of course. But I'm going to make an interesting higher level purpose pitch here, is that I think what it's going to do is that it's going to reach those people who desperately need to hear your story. There were a ton of people who needed to hear that a top 100 affiliate who had been on 3 different stages nationally, featured on his company website, interviewed by the CEO for recruiting and internet marketing, sold these products everywhere, blah, blah, blah. They wanted to hear that that guy had spent a year having a nervous breakdown and couldn't leave his house. They needed to hear that, that guy had to get up and leave in the middle of webinars and have his wife take over because he was having panic attacks so fast and so hard he couldn't stop them in the middle of webinars. They needed to hear that because they were going through some kind of version of that themselves. Now, you tell me, who are they going to connect with later on down the road? If they ever transact business with anybody, are they going to come and transact it with me? Or are they going to transact it with the anonymous person posting a promotional post on Facebook? Now, I didn't do it for that reason. I did it because the truth will set you free. For a lot of you, you're still bound up. You're bound up because you've never spoken the truth about your situation, your life, your journey. You've never shared it. And we don't share because we're scared. We worry about what people think about us. No matter how tough we talk. I find that, I used to talk the toughest about that. And I find that when we talk the toughest about things, that tends to be where we're the least tough. I cared a lot about what people thought. But that idea that the truth will set you free is, there's no other word for it. It's powerful. And you get to do this. No one's watching you. The red light is not on. It's you on your laptop or desktop or wherever you're doing it. And all that you're hearing is the sound of the keys pressing down as you tell your story. Not all posts are going to be deep, heavy stories. Some of them are going to be about products. Some of them are going to be about tips. Some of them are going to be how-to. Some of them are going to be this, that, and the other thing. But throughout all of it is going to be you. And I just think that it's a shame for you to hold that story back. Now, we've got people in the group that have gone through, because I know they've told me, they've gone through some serious, serious things. And they've never thought once, man, I wonder what would happen if I told that story. I wonder if that would help anybody. I wonder if it would help me. I can tell you, and I'm not turning this webinar into a deep, philosophical talk here, but I can tell you that one of the biggest things that facilitated me getting better was that I started talking about it very candidly. I think the biggest demons you and I have thrive on darkness. They thrive on hiding and secrets. And when you shine light on them, they kind of, you see them for what they are, cowards and bullies. And so the light on it is you going out and sharing your story. It's amazing. This was transformative to my business, but it was really transformative to me. And as a result, it was transformative to a lot of other people. But there's some heavy lifting there, right? because you have to still sit down and you still have to open up that new post window and you have to start typing. That part I can't do for you. Now, I can do all this for you. We can load it and SEO it, and I can train you. And friends, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but this is kind of my swan song with you, these workshops right here. Crystal will talk about that at the end of the year. But this is kind of my last chance with you to give you the last of what I have on these kind of areas. And I can tell you that these workshops here, I can't do any better than these. Not as I'm sitting here right now. These workshops are ridiculous. I can do all this. I can teach you all this. I can put it in your hands. But you might be sitting here tonight and you might be going, well, but Gary, I still have to write it though, right? Yeah, you do. You have to be a great writer to do it? Nope. It just needs to be your voice. Your voice is great, but it's got to be yours. And I think that the world needs to hear it. Does that make sense? Maybe I'm just talking to me tonight, and that's okay. But I think I'm talking to you. So let's jump in. I want to give you some options here. I'm going to give you the resources so we can get you going, and we'll make this happen. Let's see what I can do here on this screen. I want to give you 3 options tonight. And thank you, Kristen, for saying that. I appreciate it. I just opened up my Slack. I told you I was going to open it up. You all have stories, but you all need to tell them, and you do it through a blog. I can think of no other powerful way to do it, especially with all these things. Let me grab a linkage here for you guys. So once I give you these options, this link will be where you go and get it. And you can pick which one you want. I'm going to give you 3 options here based on your situation. Only you know your situation. You know what's the best fit for you. Again, let's review really quickly. Blog Mastery Basic is just the tech setup. So we set up the blog, the SEO, all the design, the layout, the domain integration. We integrate your first 3 pieces of content that you give us. And then you're like, Gary, I'm good. I'm off. Let me just go off and do this amazing blog thing. Blog Master Premium, which is where, again, we built these workshops based on what you told us. Blogging for search, the WordPress Master Course, blogging syndication secrets, blogging monetization, storytelling power. It is all there inside of Blog Mastery Premium, and it is just awesome. So let me put a link up here, and let's go ahead and look at the breakdowns. So Blog Mastery Basic is $317. Blog Master Premium is $517. If you already have a WordPress blog and or another blog sitting off of WordPress and you just want the courses, it's $217. So these are your 3 options. They're on that link that I just gave you there. These are for immediate build. So we have cleared out our building calendar. And I want to cover a couple of FAQs really quick. Let me minimize this window. Minimize out of chat, and let's come back here. Most common questions, I brought them up on a notepad. Folks ask me about the live workshops. Will they be archived, available for replay? And the answer is yes. Those live sessions will happen pretty close together. We don't stretch those out over weeks. They're real tight, but every replay for a live session will be available in your back office within 24 hours of the completion of the replay or of the live event. So you'll have all of those replays available to you, and those are very helpful because some of this gets kind of techie with SEO, et cetera. That'll be good ones for you to rewind and forward and pause. Some folks have asked about, are there any other extras that you're going to need to have in order to do this? You just need hosting for your blog, and you need a domain. We have a very inexpensive hosting option that we share with our clients. It's super simple, and it's literally dollars a month. It's not a big deal. So that's really all that you need. There's no other extras that you have to kind of stack on here. Some have asked again about, I don't have a WordPress blog. Can I just use the courses for my regular blog? The answer is yes, with one little piece of fine print. The one about WordPress mastery, that session is obviously focused on how to really be a ninja inside of WordPress itself. Otherwise, the storytelling, all that will be available to you, and you can do the courses separate, and that's fine if you just want to do the course bundle. Those were the most common questions that came up. So again, you select either the basic, the premium, or just the courses, and you pick which one you want. We'll have an intake form to you before tomorrow morning. We've already got those loaded up. I will say this, I don't need to do a bunch of false scarcity here. The reality is I've got a timer set on these spots being secured by Friday. So you moving on this now is important. The reason being, I wasn't kidding when I said this is kind of my swan song in the M3, because this is kind of the last thing for me inside the group before I move on to other stuff. And so we can't have this go on and on and on and on forever. So if you want one of these spots, you do need to go ahead and secure it now. So you've got the link inside of the chat. Pick your spot. Let's roll with it. And I'm excited to hear, more than anything, I'm excited to hear your story. I am excited, of course, to see you get more leads and make more sales, and all that is wonderful. We love that. But I'm interested in seeing who you become once you start writing and once you start sharing your story, because it's who you become that'll change what you're doing in your business. Remember, it's who you're being while you're doing your business that's making the difference. I think you'll start being a different person when you start sharing your story. So I'm excited for you. I'm going to go ahead and shut down the replay now. If there are any questions, please let me know in the replay, the live recording now. If there are any questions, let me know over in the Facebook group. Go ahead and click the link. Get in there. If you're watching on replay, we will have a link somewhere around on this page underneath somewhere that'll take you out here. And you can select which program is best for you. You guys have a great night. Thanks for joining me, and we will talk soon. Take care.